full contact sport. And speaking of brutality, had all those ribs crushed and his lung punctured and everything. And I thought maybe there's a silver lining. Maybe he'll be more rested and won't look as bad as he's looked in the playoffs in recent years. Because I really looked at this Saints team and thought, this is the best chance he'll have to win a Super Bowl. This is it. And maybe the best chance he's had in years, given the fact that they had a number 2 receiver. They had a hot defense. They were probably the most well-rounded team until it turns out the Bucs at the time. And they had a tie score going into the fourth quarter against Tom Brady, against a team that they'd beaten twice already. The second time worse than the first time. Couldn't get it done. Brady got it done. Brees couldn't. And he couldn't get it done because he couldn't make the plays. Let's just be honest about it. Drew Brees is one of my all-time favorites. But you got to be honest about it. Stephen A., you know what it's like? Sometimes you'll see a fight, a prize fight. I know you're a big fight fan. And a guy has trained a certain way to box responsibly and everything. It's just not working. And he gets back to the corner and the guy's like, double the jab and do this and do everything. And you're like, dude, that ain't going to work. Look, even though it may seem foolish because you'll get knocked out even faster, you better throw caution to the wind because that's the only chance you have. The Saints, unlike the Steelers and a lot of teams, are built to win a Super Bowl right now. They're not going to do it with Drew Brees. So even if you think Taysom Hill maybe gives him a lesser chance superficially, even if it's Taysom Hill, at least he gives you a puncher's chance. Drew Brees, I don't think you have a chance to win a Super Bowl right now.
Well, I think you're wrong. I think they have a chance. Obviously, at age 42, you do need to be moving in a different direction. The problem is that what you're going to go out and get. If you're going to tell me I'm going to lose Drew Brees, who, by the way, completed 70% of his passes in the 12 games that he played, threw for 24 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions. That's not something to sneeze at. I'm certainly not going to accuse Drew Brees of being what he used to be, and I understand that. But as much as I like Taysom Hill, as much as we've not given up on Jameis Winston, assuming you could get him back and what have you, the bottom line is that what do you have? What's the alternative? I think based on what you have available to you, I certainly could see Drew Brees coming back. I certainly don't mind if he does it. Me personally, if he retired, I wouldn't mind that either. But I think that based on what your options are, I see no issue whatsoever. If the Saints sat up there and said Drew Brees is coming back, I don't think you'd see the mayor calling for Russell Wilson, even though Russell Wilson at this point in time in his career, particularly due to his mobility, not just his ability to throw the football, but his mobility, I definitely think you'd prefer him over Drew Brees. But I don't think you'd see public officials in New Orleans clamoring for somebody else's quarterback if Drew Brees, if everybody knew that Drew Brees was coming back. Because when you look at this man throw the football, the accuracy with which he does it, Michael Thomas didn't have the same kind of year because he was in and out this year. Emmanuel Sanders didn't have the year that we expected him to. And so we got to take that into consideration as well. Do I think that they could be better next year than even they were this year? Yeah, I think they could do that. And I think in the case of Tom Brady, you ain't beaten Tom Brady 3 times in the same season. You shellacked him 2 times in a regular season. Obviously, come playoff time, he got the better of you. You're going up against Tom Brady on 3 separate occasions, and you beat him the first 2 times. Chances are he's going to get you once. And that's what happened there. And I don't think it was just about Drew Brees. I think it was about Sean Payton's game planning. I think it was about the lack of production this year from Michael Thomas compared to what we're accustomed to seeing from him. I think all of those things played a role. So I wouldn't give up on Drew Brees, but it's primarily because of the options that they have available to you. If you could get Russell Wilson, sure, you get him. But if you can't get somebody of that caliber, I'd say you stick with Drew Brees rather than handing the reins to Taysom Hill. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I wish this question was, should the Saints go after Russell Wilson? Because that's an easy one. That makes sense. I think the Saints are caught between a rock and a hard place because it's almost like Pittsburgh, except the money isn't the same with Big Ben. I argued on Get Up a couple weeks ago or last week that, I think that they're going to restructure Big Ben because what else are the Steelers going to do? What other options do they have? The Saints, though, they have Brees, and a lot less, financially, like a lot less money they got to spend on his salary. He just reduced it. The problem is the window is closing on this team. Maybe not in 2021, but thereafter. I think this is the year. If Brees wants to come back, God bless him. But like Max said, the injuries, I think at some point we're going to be looking at Drew and wondering, okay, is he going to be able to give you 16 games? I don't think he can. At some point, you might have Taysom Hill having to start, or Jameis Winston, who 5,000 yards, he's not that far removed from 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. So he, let's not throw Jameis away, but the options are just so bad that it makes the fact that this is even a question, that shows where the Saints are. That 42-year-old Drew Brees, should he come back? That's what we're debating.
Well, I actually think Taysom Hill's a little slept on. Like he was 3-1 as a quarterback. That was his quarterback record. He completed over 70% of his passes. Obviously, things are simpler in terms of the passing game with him. But it was, it's not like he was throwing over 200 yards a game. He threw, twice as many touchdowns as interceptions, though that wasn't a very high number. I mean, I think the difference between the Steelers and New Orleans, other than financially, Kimberly, is the New Orleans Saints are ready to win a Super Bowl right now. They need better quarterback play. I mean, they need a little more health, yes, but they need better quarterback play. And so you say, well, Taysom Hill's not going to be better than Drew Brees, but at least he gives you a different dimension than Drew Brees. As I said earlier, more of a puncher's chance. You look at the Steelers, you go, ugh, what they got. You might as well take Roethlisberger, but you ain't going to win a Super Bowl anyway. The Saints, you go, no, actually, the options they have behind Drew Brees are quite respectable, and they're ready to win now. So, Stephen A., I don't know. I think Russell Wilson, people might be calling for Russell Wilson in New Orleans anyway. In fact, when I heard the mayor, I was thinking, ooh, it's a little disrespectful to Drew Brees because it's not official yet. And then on the other hand, let's be honest. Anyone at this point in their career especially would make that trade. Of course they would love to have Russell Wilson in New Orleans. Stephen A., as you argued last week.
Well, like I said, I'm not disagreeing with it. Ain't nobody saying that we'd keep Drew Brees over Russell Wilson, but you'd have to trade for Russell Wilson. And let's not forget, his contract is also incredibly attractive. Got about 3 years and approximately $7 million. That's bargain basement for star quarterbacks in today's NFL climate in terms of what quarterbacks are getting paid. So that's also another attractive situation to bring into the equation. In the end, though, the point is that you have Drew Brees, and I'm saying based on the alternatives available to you, you don't summarily dismiss a guy that completes 70% of his passes on a year-to-year basis. The man doesn't make too many mistakes. Now, he's made some mistakes during the playoffs, and we get all of that. But there's something to say about giving you a puncher's chance, and he certainly gives you that because of what he produces for you during the regular season. And are we just going to sit here and ignore Michael Thomas? I love Michael Thomas. He's got mad game. A year ago, we were calling him arguably the best receiver in football, and he has signed a $20 million a year contract as a wide receiver. Well, guess what? He didn't live up to it this year, primarily due to injuries, no doubt. But we're just going to ignore that? We're going to ignore that the number one weapon that Drew Brees had available to him wasn't looking like himself for most of this year either? I don't think we get to do that. Am I wrong in saying that, Kimberly?
No, you're not wrong at all. And, to Max's point about the Saints being a win-now team, and to then go with Taysom Hill, who, yeah, he was 3-1 as a starter, but are we really set on Taysom Hill? Are we really set on Jameis Winston? This is a win-now team. If you slide Drew Brees back, I don't think he gives you 16 games, but at least the other guys, they've got a lot of free agent issues, a lot of free agent questions, and they're in salary cap hell at the moment. So if you slide Drew Brees back in, and you say, okay, let's try to, with this roster, try to run it back, that gives you a better shot than, let's hope Jameis Winston doesn't turn the ball over to the other team 30 times. Let's hope that Taysom Hill protects the football a little bit better than he has been. But neither option, they're not good, guys. They're not good.
Guys, let just throw this out to end this segment. In his first 4 years in the league, Michael Thomas has played in at least 15 games a year. This year, he only played in 7. He had his first 4 years, 92 receptions, 104 receptions, 125 receptions, 149 receptions in 2019 for 1137, 1245, 1405. In 2019, 149 receptions for 1,725 yards. This past season, he started 5 games of the 7 he played in. He had 40 receptions for 438 yards. Michael Thomas wasn't there this year.
That's a good point.
How we gonna look at Drew Brees and just ignore the fact Michael Thomas really wasn't
I'm looking
there.
at the last 4 or 5 playoffs with Drew Brees, though. At a certain point, he ain't going to get you over the top.
All right, guys, we got to go. We know who the New Orleans mayor wants, that's for sure. Kimberly